Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
I need a party-ready dining set. Storage, it's got like built-in
Credenza.
trash, and he's got a little like a wine,
built-in trash.
little wine fridge maybe, and like just the whole thing, like
Wine
ready to
fridge.
party. Well, for beers. To
No,
drink.
and I'm thinking to myself, I can help him. I was talking
You need
about
like a
wine
party?
fridges.
I take any of the top 5 quarterbacks over what we've dealt with since Brady, and I'll scream if we don't take Daniels if May is gone at 3.
Okay.
I,
I'll just stop talking then.
Mike likes Jaden Daniels. I like Jaden Daniels too. I'm with Mike, but that doesn't mean that like you're wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys.
And he's too nice. You just say, yeah, I don't buy him.
He
like,
sucks. And
He
to
just
be
doesn't like the squinting.
squinting.
No, because Mike is not sold on Jaden Daniels.
All you're doing is repeating what everyone else is saying.
Right. Well,
But you're doing it while you're eating a lemon.
and squinting.
Right,
Yeah.
he's squinting. I understand why you would think that he's not a good prospect, Evan, because you don't know like I know.
See, this is how people think I sound.
Email said I went to Northeastern, and Paul saying I don't care that he went to Northeastern. I still don't care about PFF stats.
You know how I usually say I never said that? I am quite sure that I said exactly those words.
So every ball that each team has, that big ball bag. Here it's infamous.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Thursday, and it's another edition of our show. It's Tamara, Paul, myself. I assume Evan will be by later.
Yeah, I think.
That's a good assumption.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deuce is on vacation.
Yes.
Out in sunny California. But we are now 1 week away from the draft. And this morning, Elliot Wolf had his pre-draft,
Press conference.
Something we
Yeah.
hope will be now a tradition for him
Yeah.
in the years to come. But this was his first one at the helm. And I don't know, your thoughts? I thought he did well. Obviously didn't give us any information, but did it in a nice way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
He's
kind
a
of.
pleasant fellow.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of great to hear him say today, we're open for business. Trading up, trading down, we're open to anything, especially with the conversation that we had here on radio on Tuesday, saying that we didn't want them to make a reach with the number 3 pick if they weren't sure on a quarterback. And it sounds like if they aren't sure, it doesn't have to be a quarterback at 3. They're open to moving back, too.
Right.
So I kind of like the flexibility that they have going into Thursday night.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that he had some interesting comments with regard to the class and specifically the quarterbacks. I thought it was interesting that he offered. He was asked about like May and Daniels specifically, and then sort of opened it up and said, we feel that way. He said nice things about them, and he said, we feel that way about all 6 of them.
Yeah.
He offered 6, so he's including Penix, McCarthy, and Nix.
Not Joe Milton?
Into that group. I'm going to assume he's not talking about anybody outside of those. But he was talking sort of in reference to May and being very impressed with what teammates say about him and how the teammates have talked about McCarthy and May and those guys. And then he said, but we feel that way about all 6 of these guys. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit that he threw out there.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was intriguing too. Personally, I would prefer not to choose McCarthy at 3. Like, I don't think we should be picking him at 3. I think it definitely should be Jaden Daniels or Drake May. But it is nice to see that they're open to other quarterbacks if they do trade back and they end up getting McCarthy.
Yeah.
But I don't want McCarthy.
See, I go back and forth, but to me, if you're not willing to take McCarthy at 3, I wouldn't take him in a trade back either.
I totally
I
agree
agree.
with you.
I agree.
Now, the caveat, there is another side to that.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, well, I wouldn't take him at 3, but I'll take him at 8 if I can get him and
Justin Jefferson.
another pick.
Yeah.
So that it's more valuable. But I agree with you. If I like him that much, I don't want to roll the dice and move down and just keep my fingers crossed that I'll still get him.
Let's face it. If you're picking any quarterback at 8, that's a higher pick than you picked Mac Jones.
It is.
So you want him to be your starting quarterback,
It is, yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And if he really likes McCarthy, I'm with Tamara. I kind of don't.
Yeah.
I do see the upside. I recognize he has upside, just like the other guys. But if he likes him that much, it would be disappointing that he wouldn't like him to the point where he's just going to take him at 3.
Right.
Like, that would be disappointing to me. And I'm not. I think the very last question of the press conference, Tom Curran asked him if he would feel how he would feel about May, Daniels, and McCarthy. Would he be okay? Has he gotten to the point where he'd feel pretty much okay with any of those?
Yeah.
And he said he would.
Yeah.
He's gotten to the point, and that's kind of when he threw out the like being happy
Now-
about all 6 of them.
Yeah.
Now, somebody can say, well, Fred, what if they absolutely know 100% that if they trade down, they can still get McCarthy? Yeah, they take him at 3, but now you could get the guy you want.
The only
But
way
how
that-
can you be sure of
The
that?
only way that can be true is if you trade down one spot.
Right.
Yeah.
You can never be sure of that.
Yeah.
You know?
You couldn't be sure of that because I feel like it's too much of a gamble, especially when you have the Giants allegedly wanting a quarterback, the Vikings wanting a quarterback. It's like, what if more trades happen and both the Giants and the Vikings get the quarterback, and then you're like, oh, there's no quarterbacks.
But it's every team.
Yeah.
It's all the teams picking the teams that now have the ability to jump in ahead of you as well. So
Yep.
it's a risk. And I think it's not all that different than what Bill Belichick did last year with Christian Gonzalez.
Yep.
He went from I just want to say from 14 to 17. I forget the exact numbers, but he slid down a couple of spots in the first round,
And they still
with
got
an eye on Gonzalez, and still got Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Washington in between took a cornerback, Emmanuel Forbes. That very easily could have been Christian Gonzalez.
Right.
Now, part of that is understanding and knowing and forecasting the board.
Yep.
And knowing, maybe we had intel that Washington was interested in the corner, but they like Forbes. So they're not going to take Gonzalez.
Yep.
But it's still a risk because maybe even that information, A, it might not be right, and B, what if Washington did like Forbes? But that's because they assumed Gonzalez was going to be gone.
Yep.
So there's risk to that, and I would rather just take the guy.
So it's
if I was convicted in the guy.
It's all very exciting, and we are excited because on Thursday we're going to be live from the GP Atrium here at Gillette Stadium. We'll be live at the draft party. We're going to start our show at 7:30, and we are going to be live video all night on
that's
Patriots.com and the Patriots app. Video all night. We'll be live video on social from 8:30 to 9 to capture the pick, assuming they stay at 3. To get that on all channels, but per league rules, we're only allowed a half an hour
on social.
Yeah, during the draft broadcast window. So we're going to pick the half hour, hopefully, when they make that number 3 pick. But otherwise, if you stay on Patriots.com, you're going to see us from 7:30 all the way through the draft. And I might have something special that I'm going to be wearing.
I already know this.
Just so people know.
I have
Okay.
sources have told me things.
Yeah. So
German soccer shirt? or
no.
something? So I have a question.
But I'm not done yet.
But it's relating to this.
All right.
Because I was busy with my shows.
Yeah.
And I did not attend the meeting this week.
Oh.
And I know a lot of this stuff was talked about. So 8:30 to 9, do we have the ability to go live if we're picking before 8:30?
Yes.
On social.
Yeah,
I
we
mean.
can choose whatever window we want,
we
as long as we don't go over 30 minutes.
Right. So
Yeah.
because there's I think that 8:30 to 9 probably is going to be pretty safe,
Yeah.
but the draft starts at 8. I assume, Goodell will kick it off at like 8:10 or something
Yeah.
like that. If Chicago and Washington make picks, within 10 minutes,
Yeah, it could be earlier.
it could be earlier than 8:30.
Yep.
I just wanted to know if we had that ability.
We'll be nimble, but if you're on Patriots.com,
yeah, well, you're going to have
you're
us
not going
live
to miss it.
wall
Yeah.
to wall.
Yeah.
So we don't do we didn't do video.
No.
I have CTE. I forget.
Yeah, we never did video the whole time on
I
the
thought we
on the
did.
first
I feel like
night.
we just did like the first hour, right?
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah. So so that'll be cool. And then on Friday, 3 hours live video on Patriots.com, and then another 2 hours on Saturday. But otherwise, we'll be covering everything. We're going to have, after each pick, live reaction from outside the war room. So whether it's Elliot Wolf or Gerard Mayo or somebody will come out and go live with us on Patriots Unfiltered, they won't be in studio. We'll bring them down to a room near the war room, and we'll get the first reaction from them live on our show.
That's great.
So that'll be cool. Obviously, we'll cover all the press conferences live, after each day or whenever they have them, we'll go live with that. So it's going to be a fun time on Thursday, Friday, Saturday on the Patriots media channels. So very excited about that.
Yeah, it's
We'll
a
have
big
the
draft.
written content. We'll have evidence of Evan not being happy with any of the picks.
Oh, that'd be great.
Can we get like an Evan cam? Because he's not here, I feel like I can ask this question of like, can we get like a GoPro like specifically on Evan?
Yeah, we could, an Evan cam.
An Evan cam, yeah.
Nothing will top that. Eric.
Lazar lens.
Lazar, I was going to say Lazar looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nothing will top Eric though.
No.
In that regard.
The
That
harumph.
was unbelievable.
Harumph.
He was so upset.
It's like they
Was that the
personally,
Duggar year? When they traded
might
down
have
the
been. It was
Duggar
like
year?
a personal affront to him. Like, how could they dare
Because of all of that, the voluminous notes he took
Right.
on all the draft picks that
Right.
just went to waste.
Right.
Speaking of
and
notes,
he
you
would-
left yours. Where's the beast?
Oh, yeah, Beast. And I got my R-Lads.
Okay.
I'm all set now. I got all my reference books. So, very excited.
Fred looks like he's studying for the LSATs.
Yeah.
With his sweater on.
With the
his
sweater, the
Mr.
full
Rogers.
stack of notes.
The problem,
everything.
I can't remember this stuff.
Well,
like,
that's-
you guys, you read it and then you start reciting
Don't
off
put
names.
Don't put me and Evan in Mike's category.
Yeah, I have to keep going back. What did I think of him?
Like I was laughing yesterday on one of my shows. They were talking about defensive linemen, I think, or outside linebackers, and how Mike and Tony throw markers at the board and they have
Yep.
their big board. So one of the guys he was scheduled as a 7th round pick, and they're going, wow, he's a day 3 guy, late, and then Barth, this guy, and he goes, yeah, more like a 4th round pick, they know these guys.
Oh, Barth he's pretty good too.
He is.
He knows his names.
Yeah, real happy for you.
I can't remember.
Know the names.
I can't remember people in my life's name.
God no.
I
I used to I tease them. I make fun of them. I did the same thing for years and years. Andy and I knew 300 players,
Yeah.
and then you realize you're only picking 7 of them.
Yeah.
There's just not a whole lot in it for you at the end of the day. But yeah, I did the same thing. I'm not making fun of them at all. It's part of the
I think
process.
it's admirable. It's what their job is.
Part of the process.
And they should know all that stuff.
I do not know, hundreds and hundreds of players every year in the draft anymore, like I did.
Well, Barth is already starting on next year's draft.
yeah, for sure.
No, I'm
sure.
not kidding, and he'll admit it.
For sure.
I
I
was
just
at
feel like if you're like that, you should probably be looking to get in the business.
yeah.
And do it
Well,
right.
I
Do
think
it
he
for
feels
real.
he is in the business.
No, I mean
Yeah.
the with the teams.
Right. Right.
Go get a job with the team.
Yeah. So I was at Elliott Wolf's press conference. You two of you were there. I thought it was a good sized crowd.
Oh, yeah.
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 Ooh.
Yeah.
Shoulder to
I thought the
shoulder.
mood was optimistic and upbeat from the media. I think they, the same. Elliott was talking about there's a good vibe going on right now in football. I think there's also a good vibe going on right now with the media. I think they're excited to do their job.
Well, I think the third pick that lends that excitement. I was more sort of interested in some of the things that he said about the team in general, some of the questions he was asked about the personnel,
Yeah.
and some of
I
his
agree.
reactions to some of those things. Because, like you said, Fred, he's a very pleasant fellow. Oh, obviously, he didn't tell you any more than Bill Belichick
No,
would,
no.
and nor should he.
Right.
But, he was asked specifically, I think Ben Volen asked him, if the season started today, who would be the left tackle? And he said it would be Okorafor, who's never played left tackle in the NFL. He
Right.
did play some left tackle in college. So that was kind of mildly concerning.
The wide receiver question was very interesting.
Yeah,
And how there just was not an answer. for that.
Karen Garigian asked.
Well, he went down the offense and kind of left out wide receivers. Yeah.
Well, no, Karen asked him specifically if he felt like there was not enough respect being paid to his wide receiver room and his tackle room, and he said yes. He did address it. He said
Yeah.
yes.
I
And
didn't
I
hear
feel
that.
I feel like not enough. We have NFL.
There was like an AC fan.
He
going
said we
on in
had.
the back.
Yeah, that needs to be.
I tried to have it
addressed.
shut off, but I don't have the sway I used to.
I agree with you. That was kind of distracting. But Elliott said that, yes, I feel like those rooms are being a little bit underlooked, undervalued. And he felt like we have NFL players at all those, and he rattled off 4 or 5 positions. And I tweeted out that comment, and the predictability comes. Well, obviously they're all in the NFL.
Right.
You know, he didn't say they're good players. Yes, I know. I just think he was trying to be sort of supportive of the players that he has.
Right.
You
but
know?
the question, I forgot who it was that asked it in front of me, but asked about what do you think the issue is with why you guys cannot develop wide receivers?
Mark Daniels, I think, asked that. Yeah.
And it was kind of just like a fumbling of words, like where there wasn't an answer to it.
Yeah, he
So-
said, I can't tell you why, but he didn't deny it. Like, he didn't say, well, I think we've developed quite a few, he didn't say that, I did, that's a tough one to answer because there's a lot of reasons. It's A, the players they chose, but B, when Brady was here, this was a tough place to break in if you were a wide receiver, because Brady was the playbook and he demanded guys just to be on the same page right away, and some guys just never got on that, so that was another reason. And so there's a lot of reasons why, and receivers didn't work out, and each one had their own story,
Yeah, it's case by case.
Yeah.
But
So-
I would agree. I think that Brady was part of that. Now, there were some young receivers that came in and caught on quickly
Deion Branch.
with Brady. I
Yeah.
mean, even like Malcolm Mitchell.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, he was a contributor as a rookie.
Yep.
But yeah, I do think that that's been a problem with the coaches. But this is a different coaching staff.
Right. Yep. So that was that. And then, of course, yesterday, we talk about everything. The story came out with Don Van Natta in Wickersham. Was he involved in that one too?
Yeah, with Seth Wickersham,
Yeah.
Van Natta, and Jeremy Fowler.
About Bill's job search and the whole inside story of the Falcons and everything. And locally, the big news was, Robert Kraft kind of scuttled that job thing. I think, Paul, you did a good job on 98.5. Like,
I want you to pay attention because this may be the first time this has ever happened.
no. I think that, I think you did a good job because I agree with you. Like everything in that story is kind of what we knew. Like, we knew Bill and Robert Kraft weren't getting along, right up into the end. And they had the parting of ways. And I don't think that story added to that. Now, Stacey James, who was the vice president of PR in the story, denied that he said that in the 2 conversations that Robert had with Arthur Blank related to the job. That doesn't mean, like, in the past, Robert said, my pain in the ass, head coach, I can't always trust him. He might have. I don't know. But I don't think Robert Kraft is that dumb to, in a phone call about someone looking for a job, to, like, do something that would harm that person getting the job. Like, that's HR 101. When you're asked for a reference, a lot of companies don't even allow a manager to say how that person performed. All they're allowed to do is confirm that they worked there and for how long they worked. Because if you ever say anything bad and it kept that person from getting a job, you could get sued.
Wait,
I'll get one.
I don't agree with that. I feel like if that person is not a good worker, they should be able to tell you don't hire
Oh,
this
you're
person.
not.
You're not allowed to.
You're not allowed
That's
to do that.
crazy.
No, that's HR 101 these days.
You're supposed to say that. No.
Or I'd rather just say
Yeah.
no.
I don't know.
Like, I'd rather not give a reference.
So the reason
right.
why
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Well, you're not supposed to do that either, because, like, if Tamara was a great worker and I get a call about Tamara and I said, oh yeah, she was great, and then I get a call about Evan, it's like, well, I can't give you a I'm only allowed. Then it's like, well, he said good things about Tamara, but not. So that means that Evan must not have been as good as Tamara.
Fair enough.
So what HR says now is, you don't give references about anyone. All you do is confirm that they worked there and for how long. And that way, it's like Bill Belichick. You can't get painted into a corner by what you
Interesting.
don't say.
Yeah, but I think legally you're not allowed to give a poor recommendation if you're asked. I think you're allowed to say to decline.
I think you can say anything you want legally, but
I
but
thought
once
that you're
you
not
give,
supposed to
but
do
if
the.
well, no, that's kind of an HR rule. But once
okay.
but once you say something bad about somebody, now you're on the hook if that person finds out that you were the reason why I didn't get the job, I'm suing you.
I think my larger point yesterday, I don't know if that was the part that you agreed with me on, is I don't really think this had anything to do with his
No. I mean,
getting a job or not.
the Robert Kraft part was like this much of the story.
Yeah.
You know, most of it was the Falcons internally not wanting him.
Yeah, and I think that was more because of the structure that they had in place. And I know that Bill's side sort of reiterated that he didn't seek total control. He was fine with just being the coach and all that. But I think that the Rich McKays and the Fontenot's and those guys behind the scenes are smart enough to know that they were going to be gone.
Yeah.
If Bill got
if not on day
hired.
one, eventually.
Yeah. And then I think Arthur Blank looked at it and said, well, if I do that and I blow everybody out and I'm turning it over to Bill, and then he does a great job for, what am I going to get, 2 years?
Right.
Maybe 3, and then I'm right back in this spot, and now I have nothing in place. I think that's why.
Yeah.
And I think that the proof of that is, in this story, it said Blank, McKay, and everybody else involved was asked to write down their top 3 candidates, and none of them had Bill.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that none of them had Bill because Robert said, well, he's kind of tough to deal with.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Like, but why did they? It seemed like it was such a hot lead, and like flying him in back to back, and like it seemed like he was going to be the hire, and all of a sudden it went ice cold.
Well, from the story, it said the second interview was just it was just out of courtesy. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
I mean,
By
who
that-
knows? Who knows all the details
knows?
behind the scenes?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just thought that it was another, I thought, good story from ESPN, but I don't necessarily link one to another. And I think, I always joke with you, like, who do you think said this and who do you think said that? And this one kind of came from the Belichick camp, if you reading the story.
Yeah, and there's probably a little cover your ass part of it too. Like if Raheem Morris doesn't work out, well, we couldn't hire Bill because Robert Kraft said you couldn't trust him. But again, I don't think if he said that and they deny it, I think it was way before Bill was ever looking for a job.
Maybe Rich McKay wants it out there saying, like,
Yeah.
Well, Robert told me that he wasn't really to be trusted,
Right.
so it's not my fault that we didn't hire him.
Yeah,
Right.
I thought it was very interesting timing that the story comes out in the morning, then Bill's on McAfee in the afternoon saying that I'm going to be on ESPN next week during the draft.
And you should notice that because that's how they operate in ESPN. That is
I
all
wonder,
planned.
I wonder
all
who
planned.
I wonder who the source was for the Wickersham story. I mean, come on, like what I understand both sides of it. It's pretty cut and dry that Bill was the source for the piece.
Oh yeah, or somebody close
at
to
Bill's
him.
camp.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
And-
Like he's allowed to get his own.
Listen, the
thoughts
only
out
difference
there.
between Robert Kraft and Bill in this regard is Robert will tell people himself what he's feeling, and Bill will have somebody do it for him. And that's the only difference.
Yeah.
And we know, like, nothing's new here. Like, we know that they had it with each other. It was time to go, just like it was time for Tom to go because he had it. Folks, let's grow up. Our parents got divorced. All right, we have to
I
deal
love
with
when
it.
Fred turns to the camera.
I'm
dramatic
saying,
effect.
He's breaking the third wall.
We as Patriots fans have to
The
stop
fourth
being
wall?
babies. We're being Our parents got divorced. We have to move on. We have to pull up our pants and move on. We have a new daddy, okay? And
just made me
in a
uncomfy.
week we might be adopting a new sibling, and I hope we welcome that new sibling into the family.
How long are we going with this
You know,
little analogy? of
This
yours?
analogy, but
Is his name going to be Drake?
I don't
by
know,
chance?
but we have to move
I heard
on.
his name is
we have
Drake.
to move on. All that stuff, whatever. Anyway, so that was
But
that.
we do. We address everything as you said at the start of that.
Yeah.
And that's. I just didn't really think it was all that. I think some of those Wickersham pieces I've been really sort of enamored with. This one was just kind of, yeah.
It ruins
I
my
saw-
day every time Seth Wickersham publishes something about the Patriots.
But I saw the Dynasty, and I saw Robert say basically, my head coach could be a pain in the tush.
Yeah.
He said it. So like there wasn't really anything that was
Yeah.
causing me to stop in my tracks. Ooh, I can't believe that.
The other thing I want to put on the table, and we don't have to get into it now, we can save it for later, is the whole NBA thing. I know the guy was in the G League when it happened, but he's what's his name?
Jonte Porter.
He's been
Porter.
banned for life for betting on the NBA,
Right.
which is the only thing that Silver could have done. But
Just be curious to see
yeah,
it's easy to do with a G League player. And I also thought poor taste from the NBA in their official release on this. The first line says a two-way player, a player on a two-way contract.
Yeah.
Like, so if it was like, I joked on the radio yesterday, if it was like Chris Paul, would it say like 11-time All-Star, although he never won an NBA title?
No. And
Although he's very overrated.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
Like,
kidding.
would it include that? Like, why do we have to diminish the guy's ability? You had a player in your league who bet on the games. You did the only thing that you could do. You don't have to like
right. And like
to me, that was an attempt to sort of downplay it because this doesn't happen with regular players. Only fringe guys that are on two-way contracts.
Well, like you said just before, like what if it was somebody like LeBron or Steph Curry? And I can guarantee if it was, it would be like, well, did he really do it? And lawyers would be involved, and it would be all drawn out.
LeBron's
And then
interpreter.
There would be an
That
was
a good one,
exactly.
Paul.
No, exactly. There would be an investigation. Then we find out, well, it wasn't exactly LeBron. There'd be a cover-up.
Oh yeah.
Right. Absolutely. It's
but
easy to do.
Yeah.
And listen, they did it. They did the right thing. I'm not diminishing what they did. They did what they should have done. But it's easy to do when it's a guy that's a fringe player.
But they had to do it. You have to do it. And that's why I put it in writing on the Twitter. I said that for these...
He put it in writing.
Technically, it's called
on the
X
X
now.
Yeah. For these betting sites, whether it's DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever, individual prop bets on unders should be outlawed. There's too much control in the hands of the player for under. You can only bet on individual props for overs, not unders.
But what? So that's still...
No, but like... If I'm shooting at least the coach can take me out if I'm going rogue.
But I could be going rogue. I'm hurting the team. I'm affecting
and so the coach
integrity of the game.
But on unders, I can like miss the shot. Like I can still pretend I'm trying, or I can pretend I have an injury so I can't play.
We'll play
that's
3
what he
minutes in
did.
the game.
Right. So
pretend I'm sick.
So there's
Porter, that's what Porter did.
Yeah. There's too much control in the hands of the player for unders.
Yeah. I think that they should probably pull back a little bit on the amount of things that you can bet on in games.
Right.
But in terms of the legalization, I think this is an example of why it's good.
Well, I think
because this is how you get caught.
And I think because of the legalization, there's more scrutiny. Did this stuff happen before it was
Of course
legal?
it did. If he did all this with Joey the Nose, how do you know today?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not a huge
I can hear you drinking.
Sips tea.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge, certainly in game I would have no interest in, like all these prop in game, second half. I'm not a big fan of it. Obviously we can't do it anyway.
Yeah.
Even if I were a big fan of it. But I can't stand the immediate pushback every time something happens. Well, this is what happens.
Right.
The leagues get in bed with DraftKings and they're making all this money. This has always happens. Now they're getting caught.
Yeah.
Because there are safeguards against it with these sites. That's how this guy got caught.
I know. And on one of your shows this morning, Paul, my brain was starting to hurt because the conversation they had, no one was listening to each other's points. So
I wasn't on the show.
Somebody
this
would
morning.
make a point, and then the other person would argue something that wasn't even the other person's point. It was just killing me. But one of the, they have logos all over the floor, and how can you, allow to have logo?
What?
I don't understand what one has to do with the other.
Exactly.
Like, there's a Bud Light logo in every arena. Should they just be allowed to be drinking while they're playing?
Right,
Too?
right.
Like, should we just? Well, that's what you get.
Yeah.
Evan, if you're going to advertise for Bud Light, then you have to expect Drake May's going to show up at the draft drunk.
Right.
Like that doesn't connect.
Right.
It is an exciting day for him, so I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah.
Like, this is what happens when you get in bed with the alcohol companies.
So, Evan, we talked about Elliott's
Yes.
press conference. What did you think?
Yeah, I was upstairs typing away. That's why I was a little late to the show today. But I think the biggest thing that I keep coming back to, whether it's gamesmanship or not, is that they don't view this as a 2 or 3 quarterback draft. They view this as a 6 quarterback draft. And if you take it all at face value, what Mayo said and what Elliott said, a trade down is very much on the table if they get the right offer, I think, because I don't think that they would be disappointed if they walked away from this draft with Penix or Bo Nix or even a little bit later, a J.J. McCarthy or something like that.
I find that hard to believe.
I find it hard
think
to believe.
Gamesmanship.
It could be, but I just their whole thing has been draft and develop, where he said we're a draft and develop team, and accumulating more picks would be good for us.
He said that exact line.
That's fine. But, we were talking about it before you got here. If they like J.J. McCarthy, if they really like him, and they don't take him at 3, I think that's wrong because there's no guarantee that J.J. McCarthy is going to be there later. At the same time, I can't believe that they have 6 quarterbacks rated similarly.
I don't necessarily think that they have them rated exactly the same, but my guess
I didn't say that. I
that
said similarly.
It's a tough word to say.
I don't know.
Twice.
If there's any Bill left in that room, then they probably do, because Bill looked at guys and they put him in buckets. Maybe a guy like Caleb Williams is in a bucket by himself, and they look at him as
Bill says all 6 are 3rd-round picks.
Yeah, exactly. I know you're being snarky, but he might look at it and say the drop off,
Just a little.
the drop off from Drake May to Michael Penix isn't really all that much. And if we trade out of this pick, it's not just looking at it as Drake May versus Michael Penix.
Okay, so
it's
then
Michael Penix in the
So
bag.
then I'm going to argue the reverse. Then don't take a quarterback at 3. Any of them.
I
because
think
one
that-
of them
but
will be
that's
available.
what
later.
Evan's
that's what I'm
saying Evan's takeaway is he thinks that's strongly in
Yeah.
consideration.
Yeah.
That they're not going to take
So-
a quarterback because they're going to go
So
back.
I don't care if it's Jalen Daniels or Drake May. If you believe that, then trade down and take somebody and take a
I think
quarterback.
that's what Evan
yeah,
led
yeah.
with. That's
but
his
I
big
can't
takeaway.
believe that. That's hard for me to.
I think he was being. I think we're open for business. I do think it's interesting that he said trade down and trade up, and I don't think necessarily trade up with the 3 pick. It's trade up later in the draft, but they need players.
Yep.
They need players.
They do.
So I understand why they feel like quote unquote they're open for business.
Yep.
It worries me that they really feel that way about these quarterbacks, because I don't think that to your point, I don't think these quarterbacks are in the same tier.
No.
I don't think they are in the same talent level. So it worries me if they look at it and say that Bo Nix and Drake May are,
Okay.
we're
But
good with either.
Would you
come
agree
on.
that other than Williams, they all need development?
I think all of them need development,
Oh, they
but
Every single one.
I
of them.
think every player needs development.
I know, but Caleb Williams needs something too. But we know what we know. Like these other guys.
I think we know what we know for the most part with Jaden, because he's 23.
Yeah.
He's been in college football for a long time. I think that the skill set and what generally the warts are with a player like that. With Drake May, it's obviously a little bit more of an unknown, because if he can fix the mechanical stuff, he's going to be an MVP caliber guy. If he can't, he might bust
But
out
I
of the
think
league.
to me, there's enough ifs with all these guys that they could all use a year.
Yeah, I heard someone say it's so hard with these 4 quarterbacks because you just don't know. Someone this morning on one of my shows, and I just look at what was the year that came when you knew about all the quarterbacks.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you never know about these guys. That's why that's why it's so high profile that people say, well, you take those quarterbacks early in the draft and they all bust. They don't all bust, but a lot of them do.
Yep.
And that's why, because you never know, and
You
it's a
don't-
hard position to play.
Yeah.
It's more high profile. And I've said that a million times. If it's the quarterback, everybody knows about it. When the tackle busts out in the top 10, it's, no one remembers Andrew Thomas,
Yeah.
who got picked, 3 years ago, and he's been on 3 teams.
Yeah, I just
Is that
that's
the guy-
why.
Is that the guy from Tennessee?
And from Tennessee.
Who's the guy from Tennessee? No, that's the Giants guy, Andrew
Yeah,
Thomas.
no, Andrew Thomas is.
Is it
Tennessee.
Isaiah Wilson, maybe?
Oh yeah, well yeah, he
Yeah.
was. That was a whole different situation.
but-
That was off-field stuff.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
you just never know.
Yeah.
These things happen.
Yeah, I just everything that they keep saying is about accumulating picks, being open to trading down, and I get that they have to say that to an extent with the gamesmanship and all that kind of stuff. But with the Penix visit coming in at last minute and all these different things, I still think that we all kind of think stick and pick is number one on the list of possibilities, right? There's the highest chance of that happening. I wonder if maybe it's a little bit closer.
You know what this opens the door for, Tamara? The Lazar lens.
Yes.
So
I heard
she
a
already
little
told
bit.
you about this?
No, but I heard
Well, she wants to have a camera just on you.
No.
If we trade down, I need that.
No.
A spy cam
I need that
on
footage
Evan
on Evan's face.
would be
No.
everything.
I said that at my candid reaction. If you want to stage it, then we can do that. I'm not giving my Cole Strange reaction on our whatever thing she's got planned for me. No.
I mean, everyone's going to see it. We're on video during the pick.
That's true.
So your candid reaction is going to be captured no matter what.
So now you have to really think about it no matter what.
A
No matter
trade
what they
down
do, no
wouldn't-
matter what they do, I'm going to be stone-faced.
A trade down wouldn't bother me as much as sticking and picking McCarthy at 3. I think that would break me, honestly.
So that's interesting. We had a poll yesterday on my show, and the fans agree with you.
Yeah.
That was exactly the two options. Sit at 3 and take McCarthy or trade down. And it was like 75-25 trade down.
Because I can justify the trade down. We're going to do the long-term rebuild. We're looking at it through a lens of a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get a bag, as Mayo said. You get multiple first-round picks for 3. You don't love the quarterback, whatever. But sticking and picking a guy that is probably the 25th best player in the draft, 3rd overall, just because he plays quarterback for Michigan, that would ruin it for me. I'd be out.
You'd be out.
I'd be out already.
That's it.
I'm also
Yeah,
out.
how many, I mean,
Take your jersey mics and just take
I mean,
off.
come on.
5 months in, I'd be out.
I mean, you can't take them literally. How many times have I been out in 25 years? I mean,
It's
You
pretty
did,
literal.
you did say in the beginning opener, Fred, that if we don't take Jaden Daniels at 3, you're going to scream. So you're going to
I said
gonna
that?
scream?
What did he say?
In the
that?
opening, like for the show.
I must have been kidding because I don't care.
It was actually pretty funny. You were like,
Yeah.
if they don't take him at 3,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm not sold on any of these guys.
Well, there
Alright.
are some Jaden Daniels stuff. I know we usually do news off the top of the show.
Washington.
There's rumblings, legitimate rumblings, and this isn't coming from me. I'm just saying the Twitter sphere is talking, the streets are talking, that Jaden Daniels has been turned off a little bit by his meetings with the Commanders. That he's not.
Well, that was last week.
yeah,
that
that was
came
last
out.
week.
Well,
Yeah.
there's more.
But yes, go ahead. Evan.
Okay.
So his agent
Wait, there's more.
was liking tweets of people that were criticizing the Commanders for how they did their top 30 visits. So I don't know if you guys know the whole story, but
I did show prep, Ev. I know what you're talking
the
about.
Commanders brought all 4 quarterbacks, May, Daniels, McCarthy, Penix, to Topgolf together.
Yeah, I heard they were together.
And did
yeah.
like a communal top 30 visit where all of them were together the whole time for the visit, dinner, Topgolf, whatever. And it's basically just like a bachelor for quarterbacks, like who gets the rose here. And that's how they went about it. And Daniels' agent has put a couple tweets out saying that he is not thrilled.
Why, because
Florio.
Jalen Daniels lost at Topgolf?
Florio and Sims were critical of that, and the agent was sort of quote tweeting it and liking it and stuff.
Not the
So-
first time that Jaden Daniels, his camp, has made it clear that the Commanders are kind of turning him off a little bit.
Interesting.
Will it matter? Probably not. They're probably still going to take him, but
Well, but maybe they'd be someone that would want to trade down now. The
Or
Commanders.
maybe they would take May.
Yeah,
Oof.
if they like May. But if they had their heart set on Daniels, but they don't like what they've seen now from Daniels,
Yeah.
then maybe they trade out and go for J.J. McCarthy. I don't know.
this
I feel
is
like they're
what
a
you
team that
do.
also needs a lot too.
Yeah, but this is what you do as a prospect to not get drafted by a team.
Right.
You're not going to come. Jaden Daniels is not going to come out himself and tweet, "Commanders, don't draft me." But you just start to hear the agent. You start to hear the parents. You start to just hear people in his camp that are just kind of leaking stuff to the media, like he doesn't really like it there. He's not really thrilled about these guys, and then all of a sudden it becomes a thing.
So you think he wants to come here?
I think that there was a couple different reports out there.
He's kind of on record saying no for that.
Yeah, he it goes back and forth, I guess. But
Well, Bill Belichick was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, and that's exactly what
was
he said.
thrilling.
He said when you get out from away from the draft, it's all this. A lot of this stuff is the agents getting it out there, and as you get closer, day before, day of the draft, then you start getting the real stuff, from teams. But right now, it's just agent talk and family talk and
Scuttlebutt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read a piece on looking back at Eli Manning and his decision to sort of force his way from San Diego to the Giants. And it was pretty well done. It was on ESPN.com. And it just sort of hit on all the details of that. But at the same time, I was sort of wondering, like, That's a long time ago. That was 2004. And how come that doesn't happen more often?
It's true.
And maybe this is, like Evan said, maybe this is kind of Jaden Daniels' way of sort of
Doing that?
maybe not feeling like he has the cachet that the Manning family name had at the time, but this is his way of trying to see if he can dictate where he gets chosen.
Yeah.
That could really shake things up if the Commanders do trade back.
I don't think they're going to trade back. I just think that they might take
May
instead.
That's what I feel.
I think out of both teams, Commanders, Patriots, the Commanders are definitely the one that are sticking more to me than the Patriots.
I'm starting to hear more and more consensus among various scouts or anonymous GMs that it's Williams, May, Daniels, like in some order. Like it's Williams 1, Daniels and May in whatever order, but those three are different than the other three.
So do we think it's McCarthy's camp who's kind of like pushed this narrative that people are pushing him up?
I think it's Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Well,
did you see what I did for you?
Thank you. That's
I wrote
Evan's
Evan's thing today.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
That I really fully believe that Jim Harbaugh is the one that's pulling all the strings on the JJ McCarthy stuff.
So that maybe there's a quarterback, not a quarterback, but
his guy is at 5.
Maybe he can
He's
get
trying to
Harrison.
get quarterbacks to go 1, 2, 3, 4.
So he can get Harrison.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Patriots fans, if you want to see Toyota's best offers, including those not seen on TV, go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals from the official vehicle of the New England Patriots. Toyota, let's go places. All right?
Wow, you read that straight.
We'll just go.
Harbaugh should trade for his guy then.
There's no chance.
Yeah.
But that's my
Give us
point
Jay
of
Herbo
why.
and
I'm off of that.
Give us Jay Herbo and you take your guy then. How about that?
Would you give 2 first-round picks for Herbert?
Mm-hmm.
You would.
Yep.
If you love JJ so much,
Yeah.
take him.
Yeah.
We'll take
But that's
Justin Herbert.
that's why I feel like that solidifies it for me of why I think this is all Harbaugh trying to play the game behind the scenes, is because as talented as Justin Herbert is, and he is extremely talented, he's won nothing in the league.
Right.
So if you think that J.J. McCarthy is this Hall of Famer in waiting that's going to rattle off 3 Super Bowls or whatever, I mean, that's an exaggeration, but you get my point. Is it really that outlandish to do what Tamara is thinking that he should do?
Right.
I mean, Herbert is right now just another one of those, until he got to the Rams, like a Matthew Stafford type that has all these physical ability but hasn't won lick. So if you like your guy so much, then trade Herbert for a bag and take JJ.
Put your money where your mouth is.
I would be all in for Justin Herbert being the Patriots' next franchise quarterback.
Would you trade 2
I'd do
ones, Evan?
Like 3 and
No, 3. Yeah, 3 and 25's first-round pick
I'm
for Justin Herbert.
And do I get anything back from the Chargers?
No.
Besides Herbert?
Yeah.
No.
You'll get nothing and like it.
Probably not.
No?
I just think
I
that
would.
they just have
I'd
too
do
many
it.
holes. Like now,
I agree with that, but I think one of them that you fill is
It's key.
It's
important
key,
one.
and it's like you don't have to
who's he
like.
throwing to, and
Oh,
Yeah, it's
here
not
we
who's
go
coaching
again.
him?
It's not necessarily about this year. It's like I have this guy now. I feel like I can, I can make picks. Maybe I can attract other guys. Maybe I'm in the wide receiver market with the veterans that we talked about on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean he's a top 10 talent at the position in all of football, in my opinion. But I just went off and said that he hasn't won anything. So
No, I
just
know.
getting
Yeah.
Justin Herbert by himself, the Chargers have Justin Herbert by himself, and he's made the playoffs once.
But I feel like half of that though is his coach making some really interesting decisions on 4th down, and also his defense just not being able to stop anything.
Absolutely.
So it's tough. It's tough to say it's all Justin Herbert and why he hasn't won anything because his coach loves to go for it on 4th down.
You could ask me in 3 years,
Yeah.
and I could have a vastly different opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I Tamara's right, but I think that with the things that you heard about Herbert coming out were he's this like surfer dude, like it's just not really all that important to him, and he doesn't necessarily have that all the intangibles that people talk about JJ McCarthy, where he's this winner and leader and just all this stuff. Like it was the opposite with Herbert, that he was just kind of chilling.
Be interesting if Harbaugh actually did, put his money where his mouth is, but I don't know. I don't think so. Anyway,
What a blockbuster!
I'll
What a
eat-
blockbuster that would
that
be.
would make for a really, really great
Good
Wow.
thing
night.
Matt's not
Yeah.
here today. He would
Yeah.
be saving
We
that
need
one for me.
something to happen Thursday to
Blockbuster.
like, oh my God, and everything's buzzing and all the social media's going crazy, and not necessarily a bad thing like Laramie Tunsil. I felt bad for him, but like just a blockbuster trade or like something like that, a Kevin Costner night,
Yeah.
on draft day.
Do you think it's possible that the Vikings could want a quarterback so bad that they would give someone Justin Jefferson, like to trade up?
But see that
I
to
don't.
me,
Or does
that's-
that defeat the purpose because you're like, you want the
Right.
quarterback and you want him?
Exactly. Yeah, that's why you want the quarterback so bad is because we have a receiver now.
Yeah.
We just need the quarterback.
And the only way that I would see them trading him is if Jefferson has told them in no uncertain terms, "I am not coming back. You
Right.
can do whatever you want. I don't care what you offer me. I'm not coming back."
That's true because
Could be.
But I don't think that's happened, and I just think that you need to get your quarterback that you're going to get to have someone like that to throw.
Yep. Webradio@patriots.com is the email address. Anything else I'm leaving out before we've covered a lot. We've said a lot.
Yeah,
No.
we did a lot on the Wolf press conference.
Yeah.
And we talked about the story. That's when you kind of came down.
Yeah, the story, Barth and I got some heat yesterday for Catch 22 because you guys know me. I can't be bothered with this kind of stuff. Like it's totally fine if this is what you're into and you want to talk about the drama. People, of course, attacked me saying that I couldn't talk about it because he's my boss and like all this kind of stuff. But it's just ultimately to me, there's 7 days to go before the draft. This is like my Super Bowl. Like I'm really not thinking about some Seth Wickersham story that he published about Robert Kraft's
And I also
phone
don't
calls.
think Catch 22 is that's not what
not
that's
the
for.
platform.
that's what we said. We said this isn't the
It's
show
catch
for
22,
it.
not catch heat.
Yeah.
And there were no 40 times in that story
No.
about
Right.
Wickersham.
Yeah.
There were
No.
no heights, weights, 40
Robert
times.
didn't have his
No.
stopwatch out.
no
No.
press corner talk.
And so that's what we said. We said this isn't the show for it. Alex is on different shows. I'm on this show. We'll talk about it in other platforms for him.
Good, Evan.
Thank
Good.
I got an attaboy from Fred for
Yeah.
how I handled it yesterday on my shows.
Good job.
I don't ever remember getting an attaboy for anything ever.
Yeah.
Els in Wisconsin. Fred, are we really still blaming Brady for wide receivers not working out? Really? Brady was the only one that kept them in the NFL. It was the inability to draft wide receivers. None of them were good enough to be NFL players, either physically or mentally, period. I wasn't blaming Brady. I was just explaining that I think because of Brady, this was in his later years, was a pretty sophisticated offense.
Yeah,
And-
I don't think you blamed Brady
No.
either.
Again, we're being so sensitive.
But he's right. I mean, the emailer's right. The problem has been the identifying the right ones in the draft.
Yeah.
Like, and I go
what
back.
they should have had is Brady picking his own wide receivers.
But I
He
I
kind of
know
did that with Antonio
we do this a
Brown,
lot.
and it didn't really go well.
we do this a lot with the old guys that these old quotes. Like, everybody throws stuff back in Bill's face, like from that 2009 documentary. I just can't get this team to play.
Yeah.
How much mileage have we gotten out of that quote?
It's a good
right?
quote.
It is a good quote.
Yeah.
But this is, Bill never says anything. So when he says something that resonates, you use it over and over again. Well, one of the things with this on this topic with wide receivers that I always point to is that book that had details of the Falcons Chiefs trade with Julio Jones and Jonathan Baldwin.
Classic.
Right? And that's Bill. Like, to me, that summarized Bill's mentality. Like, that's why when I said I was being snarky about the quarterbacks, only a little.
Yeah.
I think there's probably some truth to how he feels. Oh, yeah, I mean, Julio Jones, yeah, he's pretty good. He's better than Baldwin. Yeah, but what's the difference? What's the difference? Well, one of them's going to be a Hall of Famer and one of them's going to be out of the league in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know the difference. And I'm not saying it's easy to know the difference. Even for
easy with that one.
No, but even for a Hall of Famer, the best who's ever done it like Bill, it's not easy to understand, to identify every one. But I think that he feels like that. Why would you go to that guy and trade all of this for that guy when this guy's probably 80% of that guy? Why would you do that?
Yeah, I think the wide receiver conversation is always interesting. And the thing that I go back to with it, especially at the top of the draft, is that they've always picked guys that were extremely raw route runners for a system that was highly complex and centered around route running. Like the guys that succeeded in this system were Wes Welker, Edelman, even recently like a Jacoby Myers, right? Like you have guys, high IQs, great route runners, like all those types of things. and then they draft N'Keal Harry or they draft Tyquan Thornton, and they're asking those guys to create separation at the top of the route and understand sight adjustments and post-snap, coverage indicators and things like that. It's like, why? And when we go back to this draft, it's a completely new offensive system. So maybe that changes, that those raw talents can develop in an Alex Van Pelt offense. But if it's still going to have similar sort of things, then like one of your guys, Fred, like a Lad McConkey, that guy would make a lot of sense. Some of these guys would make a lot of sense more than, a guy that's just a raw physical talent. And I think that's where I keep, Chad Jackson, another example from all the way back. It's just like, why are you drafting that guy?
Yep. All right. You know what?
Chad Jackson.
Sun's out, fun's out. Get ready for warmer weather with the latest in stock and ready to ship outdoor styles from Bob's Discount Furniture. Shop everything from weather-resistant wicker seating and barbecue-ready bar and dining sets to on-trend indoor-outdoor rugs, umbrellas, and decor. Stop in and shop now to embrace springtime at Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. All right, Paul is ready to eat, so we'll take a break, and we'll be right back. If you want to see Toyota's best offers and have a first look at that, including those not seen on TV, go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals from the official vehicle of the New England Patriots. Toyota, let's go to the DraftKings commercial. Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
And we are back with another edition of the PU Halftime Show. Matisse Bauman here, joined by Chris Cassidy.
How we doing?
And we got some trivia as always. Chris, don't answer it.
I might.
Question 1, send your answers to webradiopatriots.com. Malcolm Butler's Super Bowl winning game-clutching interception against the Seahawks. Who was the pass intended for? All right.
I know this.
Yeah, don't answer it, bud. All right. Who was Russell Wilson's pass intended for that Malcolm Butler intercepted? All right. Question 2. Who scored the first Super Bowl points in Patriots team history? All right. Just points. All right. That's your hint. And question 3. In 1986, the Patriots defeated the Los Angeles Rams on a Hail Mary pass from Tony Eason for a final second 30-28 win. Who caught the winning touchdown pass?
What year is that?
1986. All right. It's even before my time there.
Wait, you say Super Bowl?
No. Just regular pass.
What am I saying?
I don't know what you're saying, bud. Anyways, Chris, all right. Guys, send your answers to webradiopatriots.com. Today, we are going to talk about some player rivalries, all right? NFL gets heated. It used to be crazy back in the day, early 2000s, 90s. But, Chris, we just want to talk about some, maybe some famous incidents or player beef. It could be some team-on-team crime here, We got McNabb. Let's start with McNabb and Terrell Owens.
Okay.
All right?
Go ahead.
Do you remember that?
I don't really know the beef. I don't know the beef.
You don't know the beef at all?
Maybe a little bit.
A little
bit? If you start talking about it,
listen, I was pretty young then, too. But pretty much.
Were you?
Yeah, bro.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, Chris, come on.
Go
All right,
ahead.
no. We'll go. Do you want me to do that one?
Yeah,
I don't know the full.
We should just talk about the biggest one first.
You do the biggest one first.
Well, that's Brady and Manning.
All right, fine. I love that. All right, go for it, Chris.
Brady
Manning.
Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
Go for it.
Too many games to count where they were neck and neck. I mean, Brady, I think, came out on top most of the matchups.
He did.
But, I mean, that rivalry, the best part about it was just, it was between him and Manning. Like, they were rivals to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So when they went head-to-head before Manning retired, it was just must-watch television. Like,
there was always hype.
Yeah, every single time.
It was usually always a great game.
Exactly.
I don't know. The one that stands out to me was the 03 and the back-to-back AFC Championship games.
Yeah.
That I just remember Peyton Manning's jersey just covered in green because he got beat up that whole.
Which
game.
one was it? There was one that was closer than the other, right? It was I'd have to look. I thought there was one game where they knocked the socks off of the
I was 0-3-1.
Colts.
Pretty sure. But regardless, that is classic. That's just classic NFL lore there. It's just funny because Brady ended up playing like almost 10 years longer. But, I mean, just those guys must watch TV, as you said.
Almost the Ali Frazier of football.
Oh, honestly. And it was just so great. And it's just so funny that they kept it going. I mean, Manning went to the Broncos, and it was still same thing over and over. But, all right, Chris, I got Donovan McNabb and T.O. Pretty much they had an unreal season in 2004. And, went to the Super Bowl appearance against the Pats. And I forget what game it was. It was at late season. T.O. messed up his ankle pretty bad. There's actually a good thing on it. He talks about, like, fractured ankle. He's like, just get to the Super Bowl. I'll be ready. And my guy went off against us. Like, if we didn't win, he was going to be Super Bowl MVP. And obviously there's some parts of the story you don't know, but McNabb allegedly wasn't too ready, threw up on the field, and then, McNabb actually said some stuff to the media. You don't talk about a man's money. And I don't know if you've ever seen it, but that's where T.O. was doing sit-ups in his driveway. You've seen that. Come on.
I actually don't know if I have to.
Oh, all right. Well, once again, Chris, you got some homework to do. But, that's just an internal one. But, Chris, we also got some others. Like
that Super Bowl, though, I was only, 4?
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's just NFL lore there. You just know about it.
Yeah, I know.
All right, we got some other rivalries, and we can also talk about team matchups here. When I just think of NFL rivalries, I go to the NFC North. Those games: Browns, Steelers, Ravens versus anybody. I mean, once again, another Brady thing there. Tom Brady versus Ray Lewis. Tom Brady versus Terrell Suggs. Chris, you want to get into that at all?
I mean, Ray Lewis is arguably one of the greatest linebackers of all time, outside of LT.
Yeah.
And that back and forth, they got into it a lot, especially at the line of scrimmage. If they ever ran into each other, you knew that they were going to go face-to-face. The NFL just lived for those types of moments. But again, just a lot of scenarios where Brady just had a little bit more juice in him than the other guys.
You got Brady Lewis, you got Brady Suggs. He used to say Suggs versus Uggs, also before your time. But also, just the thing I want to talk about that is that doesn't really happen in the NFL anymore. It's all about the offense all the time, and so like these guys aren't allowed to hit anymore. So that's one of the dying rivalries we see there. But also, let's get into some of the cornerbacks here. You'll know this one: Odell Beckham versus Josh Norman.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah, that was one of the best ones.
That probably won't happen again. These dudes were just scrapping on the field. You have OBJ.
Visibly did not like each other.
In their prime, OBJ with the blonde mohawk. Josh Norman at that point was probably one of the best corners in the league.
Yeah.
Just going at it.
What's funny is just, that interaction. Like, I feel like even to this day, I don't even know if they would like each other. Like,
no.
I think there was just clear hatred on the field. I mean, they're throwing each other around like rag dolls. They weren't even playing football.
No.
I don't even think OBJ had a good game.
Oh, he had a great game.
Did he?
Yeah. He went off.
Norman was just super frustrated about it. But from what I remember, just throwing each other around like it was nothing. And the amount of flags thrown in that game and the amount of times the referee had to step in was very funny.
I mean, he scored a touchdown and stepped over him. Yeah.
I do remember that.
And then before that, we had Andre Johnson, Cortland Finnegan, where that was a big scrap. And I don't know if that was because that might have been pre-red zone. I wasn't watching too many Texans versus Titans games at that point. But I do know Cortland Finnegan was such a pain in the ass for every receiver in the league that I'm pretty sure some players actually joined together to pay the fine for Andre Johnson because they were like, "Thank you for doing this."
Yeah, so. I mean, just an absolute leech on the field. Would not leave him alone.
But you know what? I'm more of an OBJ guy and Andre Johnson, but I want my cornerback starting stuff like that. So that's what you're looking for in a cornerback.
You want some chippiness.
Yeah, you got to get in the receiver's head. But you don't want to get kicked out of the game. You don't want to get kicked out of the game.
Get into a fist fight with Andre Johnson.
You got to keep your cool. But, Chris, that was a quick fun when we got there. Got any others real quick?
I had one more in mind, but it literally just left, and it's bothering me that I forgot.
It's gone into the radio universe. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Let's get back to Patriots Unfiltered. And we are back.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like my plan. where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get my plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get my plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like my plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get my plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get my plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like my plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get my plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get my plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like my plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get my plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get my plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. We're going to be at the GP Atrium for the draft party next Thursday, and I believe that's sponsored by Bud Light.
Can we have a Bud Light?
Paul, will you be having a Bud Light?
If you give the okay.
Okay.
Would that be allowed?
Well, I mean, what do you think is going to happen?
I think once we make our pick,
these teams get in bed with the alcohol companies, so we're supposed to be
Right.
drunk on the air.
Right.
I'm all in.
once we make the pick, I'll take the gloves off. Let's go. Little trivia.
Once we
Ready?
make a pick, that's
not
like
ready.
8:30.
Thursday
I'm in.
trivia.
Long night.
Who was the intended receiver for Russell Wilson's pass that was intercepted by Malcolm Butler in Super Bowl 49?
Ricardo
Ricardo
Lockett.
Lockett.
That's correct. Who scored the first Super Bowl points in team history?
Tony Franklin.
That's right. The only, at the time, the only, right? They only had 3 points in that game, right?
10,
Oh,
but he scored the first
It's
3.
56-10, right?
Oh,
It
yeah,
was
late.
44-10.
44-10.
In '86, the Patriots
Wow.
defeated the Los Angeles Rams on a Hail Mary pass from Tony Eason for a final second 30-28 win. Who caught that winning touchdown pass?
Irving Fryer.
That's correct.
Okay, these ones were not fun because only Paul and you know the answer to these ones.
I didn't know the answer to any of them.
Well,
Right.
I knew Ricardo Lockett.
Webradio at patriots.com is the email address. Aaron writes in from Bonnie Doon, Australia. Just wanted to share a bizarre dream I had the other night involving you guys.
Oh, God.
It mainly featured Mike and Evan from memory, but I'm pretty sure the rest of you were there too. We were all at the draft party when Washington picked May 2nd overall. I felt sick to my stomach, and Mike and Evan went absolutely nuts and started yelling and screaming at everyone, like the crazy end of the world preacher. Did you know that reference?
Sounds like me.
the season was over now, the team was ruined, and the organization had sacrificed the next 15 years for a meaningless win on Christmas. It was such a strange and concerning thing to dream about, as I can't decide whether I want May or Daniels, and it changes depending on who I listen to, and that a radio show and its host would play such a major role. I guess that's what happens when I have spent around 14 days total last year listening to you. Anyway, till next time, thanks for all the great content and insight. I really appreciate it. I can't wait for the off-season topics, and stay out of my dreams. I should have had better things going on here, but I don't. Okay.
Let's get out of my dreams.
Oh.
Get into my car.
I see.
Nice.
That's
a plausible scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So, Fred.
Yeah.
You know, the youngins don't know that we often pop up in listeners' dreams.
We have.
Interesting.
It's true, and I've also shared some dreams that I've had.
Yes, we don't need to get back into those.
Okay. And then Junior from Canton says that you threw him, Evan, you threw him under the bus.
You throw him some shade?
I have no idea what that means.
He says, I emailed in yesterday for Catch 22 and just wanted to say that Evan really threw me under the bus while reading my comment about Jaden Daniels. I realized it was a long email, but you didn't communicate any of my points and made my argument against him sound stupid.
Come on, Evan.
So I'll try again.
I hope he wrote a column. How much do you want me to read?
He'll summarize it.
Okay.
1 6-year starter who didn't pop until his last year
I
when
read
he
that
had
part.
when he had first-round receivers and linemen. That should be a red flag. Burrow is the exception, not the rule. 2, average arm talent who avoids the middle of the field, which is usually code for bad processor. 3, when Daniels uses his legs, he never looks to throw, often ignoring wide open receivers. And 4, dynamic runner, but he takes hellacious hits and has a small frame.
Well, either you really watched the film or you read my film review on Jaden Daniels. But yeah, those are all legitimate concerns that I think everybody has with him. You know, there's a lot of stats out there with Jaden Daniels about how often he either scrambles or takes a sack but doesn't actually make a throw, right? Like, it just, in terms of when he gets pressured and he's got to make a decision, his instinct is to try to run or escape the sack, and ultimately he either picks up yards with the scramble or he gets sacked, right? So there's a lot of concerns with those types of things with Jaden Daniels, but I think ultimately, do they outweigh the skill set on the strength side of things so much that you are passing on him? I would say no, but I understand why you would be concerned about him over May or, you know, in this whole conversation. But in general, I just think that the talent that he does have is overwhelmingly good. So I don't think that you're going to sit there and say these are fatal flaws that we're passing because of this.
Okay. Colleen writes in about Jaden Daniels' agent. We were talking earlier about him liking something, about not liking what the Commanders did. He said the agent liked a comment saying that he only tweeted the Florio video because he was disagreeing with the take.
That's called putting the toothpaste back in the tube.
But he also liked a comment that was saying basically, who the F cares how they interact with players that they won't play with, and that no companies do that. I think he does hate what Washington did, but wanted to cover himself by liking a comment that he was actually disagreeing with the take and not with what Washington did.
100%. He quote tweeted Florio's rant about how stupid it was with the thinking face emoji. How is that code for I disagree with this?
Okay.
It is odd, don't you think, that an organization would have 4 guys in at once at the same position?
It was odd. Like, okay, you're overthinking this. You're trying to be cute and do it
like
a
Chris
different
Sims
way.
made the point. It's like, you know, they'll never all be together again.
Right. Well, I think their point is who was the alpha?
100%.
Like, I got honey mustard on my.
Sorry, guy. Get that Tide pen out.
Yeah, where's the Tide pen?
I don't know.
I 100% agree with you, Fred. Dan Quinn, he was a decent coach with the Falcons, and maybe he's a decent coach again with the Commanders, but what a hardo. Like, he just walks around with the backwards hat all the time, and now he's doing this to do exactly what Fred just said.
I don't trust any grown man who walks around with backward caps. I don't even like tennis players who wear the cap backward.
Deuce and I saw him in the airport in Indy on the way back from the combine with a backwards hat. It's not, so it's not just for, show.
Effect. Like, what are you doing? Like, grow up, Like, your skateboard days are gone. They're behind you.
You're just anti-backward hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On grown men. Like, if kids want to wear 8th grader, okay. But you're a grown man. Wear the cap right. It's got a brim for a reason. If you don't like the brim,
okay,
you know, don't wear a cap. I don't like it.
I don't like it either, but I'm just busting his chops.
Okay, Boomer.
I already said that.
Oh, you did. Ramon in Tampa has a question. When did the Brady-Peyton rivalry really start? My understanding is that Brady wasn't Brady until later in his career, so when was it a must-schedule and tune-in rivalry? No, it was
Right
early.
away.
I think 04.
Yeah.
So 03 was the first playoff game.
Yeah, they
right?
beat him. Yeah, the Patriots beat him in 03, and then I think it was on at that point.
Yeah.
And it's fair to say it was Brady-Peyton, but really it was Belichick-Peyton. It was Belichick's defenses that were giving Peyton Manning fits.
Or was it the Patriots beating him 38-34 on a regular?
No, but Ty Law with 3 interceptions and all that stuff.
Yeah, in a snowstorm.
And in
Willie's goal line
what's his
stand.
name?
Right, in the 38-34 game. That's exactly the game I was thinking
and
of.
Pelayan complaining that the defenders are too handsy and
Polayan.
trying to change the roles. No, Pelayan.
Oh.
He calls him Pelayan.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure the listeners knew who we were talking about.
Now, believe me, they know because this is not new. But his whole thing, remember, Polayan used to call him the Patriots.
Yeah. So he messes up his name.
He referred to them as the Patriots, so that was Fred's way.
I'm not.
He doesn't want to call us by the correct name.
Oh,
I'm
I
not
don't like the
call him.
person, but I respect the ability. I
Sure.
mean, just built 3 championship caliber teams.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
He has. He's
Yeah.
right about that.
Yeah.
I
don't like him.
don't like him.
I don't like his.
I don't like him.
I don't like his act.
No.
I don't know if that's really what he is, or if it's like some kind of tough guy act persona that he tries to portray. I don't like that.
I'll never forget in 06 after they beat us in the AFC Championship, him running down the hallway. This is our time. The Patriots had their time. This is our time. And he's like yelling, and it's like we owned him. We owned space in his head.
I feel like that when he came out, didn't he come out and say that they had like a really high grade on Brady in the draft?
Oh, I think he did.
Yeah.
I don't recall.
Then why did you take him?
Yeah, that
Because
was
they had Manning.
But that was when he officially
You take him in the 5th round if he's so good.
That's when he officially lost me because I was like, oh yeah, you're the one. You're the one that did it. Saw him as a 2nd round pick when everybody else thought he was a day 3.
See,
guy.
generally that's how I feel about all those guys that come out, and I tell you, I dismiss all of it. Oh, you thought he was better than everybody else. Oh, how did his career? Oh, he's the best that ever played. Like, if you tell me that you had a higher grade on, I don't know, Zach Robinson than anybody else.
Right.
Who's Zach Robinson? Yeah. Okay, so now at least you're being honest. Like, I tell you,
right?
Like, I like David Terrell over Richard Seymour. Like, I tell you the ones that I miss just as much as I tell you the ones I hit.
Yeah, it's like Peter King, when he was retiring from SI and talking about, the misses he's had. And, like, there are these, like, misses like anyone could have.
Right.
Remember that?
The things that he was supposed to be making fun of himself were nothing that anybody would be even wasting an ounce of sleep over.
Right.
Losing an ounce of sleep over. It's not that hard to just say you get some right, you get some wrong. And
Right.
when you get them wrong, like this Adam Schefter thing, was that on air or off?
It was
Were you
on
still
air.
eating?
No, we didn't talk about it. No.
Right. No. Like evidently Schefter. Evan said he saw a tweet from Schefter. He's kind of walking back the definitive nature of Daniels to Washington at number 2.
Well, I was just about to read.
Okay,
this.
go ahead.
Yeah. Floyd in Redford, Michigan. Even after Adam Schefter telling Commander fans that it's safe to purchase a Jaden Daniel jersey, Daniel Jeremiah is personally leaning toward Washington selecting Drake May. In all 3 of his previous mock drafts, Jeremiah has May going number 2 and Daniels going number 3. Conspiracy theory: is it possible that Washington is trying to pull the Jason Tatum trade down? Is it possible that Washington is trying to get the Patriots to trade up to number 2 for Daniels, knowing that they have preferred May the whole time?
I don't
know why it has to be a conspiracy.
Yeah.
I mean it's
At 2. When you're at 2, I don't know why you have to be like trying to foster a conspiracy.
Yeah, I still just don't understand that piece of it. Like the Commanders moving around the board now to still get the quarterback that they want, like the Celtics did with Tatum. I don't really understand that one. Like,
So
I don't see the logic.
Is the point that they're trying to get the Patriots to think that they want
May.
Right. So if that's it, they're trying to get the Patriots to think they're going to take Daniels. But if the Patriots wanted Daniels, they'll trade up.
Yeah, or vice
to get
or
Daniels
May. Or May.
Yeah, same thing.
Like, it doesn't make any sense to me because,
in other words, they think they know who the Patriots want, and they want the Patriots to think in order to get that
You're gonna have
guy,
to
you're
trade
going to
up.
have to trade up into
Right.
their spot.
but if they're willing to trade,
Then they don't want him.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why I just don't think it works.
Yeah.
When it's the same guy, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, now, if you want to tell me, I know Minnesota loves Drake May.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm willing. I don't need Drake May, so I'll trade with Minnesota. But that doesn't make any sense for the Patriots.
Daniel Jeremiah's had Drake May as his number 2 quarterback, the wire to wire, like the entire process. So I think to him, he's just thinking, I don't have any inside information on the Commanders necessarily, but I just can't imagine that they're just going to pass on the second best quarterback in the draft.
No, I agree. And the part that I found interesting was, I guess, Schefter starting to walk it back. Well, that was just my opinion. Well, no, you're telling fans that they should,
Go buy
feel
the
safe
jersey.
to go buy a Jaden Daniels jersey.
Yeah,
I've
said this before about Schefter. When he's giving his opinion, he has to be clear. Because we
But it
all
wasn't his
assume that
opinion. That's my point.
We all assume that his opinion is based on knowledge that he has.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But my point is, when you come out and you emphatically say the Patriots wouldn't trade Jimmy Garoppolo for 4 first-round picks,
Right.
that's not your opinion.
Right.
And we understand you're only as good as the information you get. I don't think that he made that up. I think the Patriots said, under no circumstances are we trading Garoppolo.
Right.
And then things changed.
Yep.
So they, whatever. So instead of saying, like, well, it's just my opinion, the same thing with this. Like, I have no doubt that someone in Washington definitively told them they're taking Daniels. And now he's probably getting nervous about it.
Yeah.
And he's trying to cover his tracks. There's no harm in that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one's going to all of a sudden say, well, geez, when does Schefter ever get it right? No. He
Right.
gets it right over 90% of the time. He's as good at that stuff as anybody.
Yep. Bart in Poland, I know the question is more suited for Barth, but I listened to Catch 22 on demand. Are we seriously saying that Penix, without the injuries, is a top 5 pick? Because all the draft experts like Brugler seem to be saying that he is a second to third round talent on tape alone, without accounting for injuries, but will be probably drafted in the first.
Well, to be fair, Brugler, his grade isn't impacted by the injuries.
Yes, that's totally unfair.
Yeah. So Brugler graded him as like a second, third round prospect with the whole thing
Right.
involved. It's
But
not a
based
film
on his
grade.
tape, but like his tape is impacted by the injuries.
Right. Right.
Like, that's not fair.
It's not him saying, based off of talent alone, Penix is a second round pick, third round pick. Now Barth is of the thinking that if the Patriots do not take Penix early, that he's going to go in the teens to one of the quarterback needy teams like the Raiders or the Vikings,
That could be.
one of those types of teams. And I just push back. We had a classic debate that neither one of us is going to budge on. And I just, with the injury history, I just can't imagine a team is going to take a chance on a quarterback that has that kind of injury history that early. Early second round pick is one thing, but to take a guy that's had 4 season-ending injuries with the 6th overall pick, if you're the New York Giants, is just, I can't get there. Like, I just can't imagine that a team would do that. So we were talking about trade down scenarios, and I was saying I'd be cool with Penix being their pick if he's not the first pick they make in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
If they trade down from 3 to 11 with the Vikings, and they take Roma Dunze at 11, and then they take Penix at 23, then I'm cool with that, but I'm not doing the reverse. And he said, well, then you're not going to get Penix. And I was like,
Okay.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
But you also have to be okay with that. Like, I like Penix, but I don't love him like the other guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Anthony writes in, and where is he from? Doesn't say. Oh, Seattle. With 1 week remaining before the draft, I wanted to throw my preference out there. I've reached the point, similar to Deuce, where I'm all in on May, or else trade down. If Daniels is there at 3 and they take him, I could get myself excited about the abilities, but if it was my choice, I would want to trade back to 6 with the Giants and get the extra picks. Then, assuming they take Daniels, I'll take the remaining player out of Alt, Harrison, or Neighbors. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that because my preference and Deuce's preference this whole time has been May, we've kind of cooled a lot of people off on Jaden Daniels, like by mistake almost. I think that Jaden Daniels is a really talented prospect, and a lot of people. These consensus boards that come out, or we polled 10 league executives and this was their rankings of the quarterbacks. A lot of it has Jaden too.
Let me ask you a question.
But like by micro
in
points.
the same tier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you were like a league executive and one of these places called, would you give them the time of day?
What, who's calling?
I mean, like if
if Jeremy Fowler calls you,
or any of these people doing polls.
Oh yeah, no, I would call that. I would take part in that.
You would?
Yeah.
Why?
Because when I'm out of a job, it helps to have those guys.
Oh, okay.
Trumpeting on my behalf.
That's not a.
I'm sorry, on my behalf.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
Yeah. Now I wouldn't necessarily.
Paul's a good guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily, be eager to get back to Paul Perillo if I was chiming in. I can't do anything for him.
Yeah.
But like those national guys, when they put together their,
rising coaching stars.
Yeah, rising star. Every December you see these names, and half of them, if you're looking at them, you don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, well, that's one of Breer's anonymous GMs. That's one of Fowler's anonymous decision makers.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
But it just seems like there's no shortage of these guys willing to take part in these little off-the-record polls and surveys. And
well, it is off the record, so I guess there's really no threat.
Right.
No, but I'd be like, yeah, I'm busy.
I don't know. Yeah. I also really like, so Bob McGinn every year writes like the dirt on the prospects, like what's the real dirt on some of these guys. And he's usually pretty spot on, and there'll be guys that will just randomly fall in the draft on draft weekend. We're all like, how is this guy still on the board? DeJuan Jones. Like, how is this guy still on the board? And McGinn would have had, a week ago that the guy, would rather be playing basketball and doesn't give a crap about football. Stuff like that. And so, there's some stuff in there about my guy, A.D. Mitchell, being kind of a, hot and cold in terms of his personality and, his effort level and things like that. And Jermaine Burton, one of your guys, was in there about, his off the field transgressions. So
that's the wide receiver from
Alabama. Yeah.
I mentioned him first.
Yeah, I think.
But we talked about him on the draft countdown pod.
But this is.
Oh, okay.
This is months ago. Believe me, I'm the wide receiver whisperer in this room. Okay.
Who did you have last year? I forget.
Who did I have? Oh, I had
Slade Bolden.
No, but I have a good history of.
See, this is unfortunate because I can't make fun of you this year because the guy that you fall in love with that has no talent actually has talent.
And I fell in love with him.
Lad
last
McConkey's
year.
a good player.
McConkey's a good player.
Last year.
I really like him.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit intrigued with Johnny Wilson.
I know. I like that poll from you too.
Yeah.
I know Paul's out because of the body type, but
yeah. I just want to see what he can do. Yeah.
I just think he'll be a tight end before.
He's an enigma.
If he can catch balls, I don't care what you call him. You can call him a, extra lineman. If he's catching balls, then.
Well, if he were an extra lineman, I'd be interested in him. I'm serious. If he could block, I'd be interested in him, but I'm sure he can't. Yeah. He's a wide receiver.
When you pull up his bio and you see 6'6", 230 pounds, you're thinking to yourself, all right, this is going to be like Kelvin Benjamin. This is going to be a guy that's just going to posterize people.
But another guy who was good for like 2 years.
And he's nothing like that.
See, people are going to think, oh, you just read that, and now I remember him when BC played them, and I remember seeing him in the end zone. I'm like, who the hell is that guy?
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
But he can move.
There's something to be said for the all-airport guys.
Yeah.
The guys that are impressive in a suit.
He can move. Yeah, it's
No,
funny.
I'm saying
I
this.
have never heard
What do you say? The
catch.
all airport
that.
guys,
That killed me.
the arrival guys.
Coming off the bus.
I didn't make that up. That's a thing.
That's
I
so
didn't know that.
good.
That's
I've
good.
never heard that.
I'll give you your flowers.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
The all airport guy in this draft for sure is Amarius Mims.
Mims
from Georgia.
Yeah.
Like he comes off the bus,
Mountain
and
man.
and you're just like, holy crap! I am not messing with the quarterback today. Like it's 6'8",
I do. I like
340.
that guy.
I think
Yeah.
Tavondre Sweat is also an airport guy.
Yeah, but Tavondre Sweat also likes to drink a little too much, so there's some concerns
Wow.
there.
Okay.
Chad in Atlanta, I could have read this vague
Bob
answer
McGinn chimed in.
incorrectly.
Sorry.
I could have read this incorrectly, but when asked whether you stay at 3 or move somewhere, do you feel like a quarterback has to be the pick? Elliott Wolf said no. So it seems like they may not be all in on a quarterback, even if it's in a later round, which is kind of alarming, but could also be a smokescreen.
Yeah, I think that everything that he's trying to cast as wide of a net as possible
course.
right now, so that you can't read too many tea leaves about the things.
And
that
he
he's
wants to
saying.
leave all options open for other teams.
Yeah.
Like Gerard said, if somebody calls offering a bag, we'll listen.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll offer this bag the day before the draft, or do you think they'll actually wait until
the
draft
thing
day?
that's interesting is that historically speaking, those major move ups would have already happened. Like the ones like going from 11 to 3, for Minnesota, those deals would have already happened. But I think this draft is unique because of everybody's got these quarterbacks stacked differently. So, like, if the Commanders, and everybody knows that Caleb's going to the Bears, but if the Commanders end up taking Jaden and the Vikings really like May, or they end up taking May and, the Giants really like Jaden, like, it can
But
change.
in terms of strategy, though, especially in the first round high, if I'm the team wanting to move up and I've got the bag to offer, I think I wait until draft day, because if I tell them what my bag is the day before, now they have time to shop that around. But if I do it on draft day, they're under the gun. And if I think the bag really is an amazing offer, I want the pressure on them to have to say yes.
Yeah.
So I think there's value in, if I'm the team moving up, waiting so that they can't they can't go shop it around and do better.
I mean, when the 49ers moved up for Trey Lance, that happened like a couple weeks before the draft.
Elliot just talked about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
they were at the BYU Pro Day.
Yeah. So like those types of moves usually, if it's that big of a jump, that usually happens before.
Yeah. Robin the Catskills just wondering, what if after all the Patriots evaluation they really want Penix? What would their draft look like? Where would they take him, and what else would they need to surround him with? So then that's an absolute trade down.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, because you're going to be able to get him mid-first round pretty much for sure.
I would probably try to trade down with Minnesota at that point and get 11 and 23. And then if you really have to move back up from 23, then you just got this bag of assets to maybe make a 3 or 4 pick move up to move up from
instead of just having 34 to move up. Now you have
you can move up from 23.
A whole nother pick.
Yeah.
Kyle writes in from Pembroke. A couple questions on the draft. 3 actually. One, who do you think are the best fits for the Patriots at tight end on day 3? This would have to be an Evan question.
So the tight ends in this draft are a pick your flavor thing after Brock Bowers.
I was going to say after Bowers. When's the next the next tight end could be when?
Probably I would say probably third. Jatavian Sanders probably goes in the second round, and then a couple guys in like the third or fourth round, and then late. Flyers late.
Yeah, I don't. Not just because the class isn't great. I'm not big on tight end, and so you take a 5th round tight end. What does that mean?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I think
does that help your tight end depth chart?
The one thing that it might help, and this is why I said it was a flavor draft, is because there's guys that are Jaheim Bell, Dalen Hoker. Those are kind of those H-back move tight end types. But then there's a guy like Tip Raymond who's a hand in the dirt 6th offensive lineman, like a 275 pound
and in this
tight end.
offense, they might need that.
So that's where, if you're looking for how could that guy help, it's situationally, right? He's your blocking tight end on the goal line. He's your third down blocking tight end on 3rd and 1. Right. He's this game plan, we want to come out and we want to run the ball. He's on the field to help block. So I think that some of these guys that are going to be more receiving tight ends later on in the draft probably don't make much sense with Hunter Henry still around, but maybe a guy like Tip Raymond or the AJ Barner from Michigan, those guys are, 6'6", 250 plus, blocking type of guys.
Right, and I would just take one of those guys that's a dime a dozen sitting around right now and just sign him and then have him do that and not waste the draft
Perfectly
pick.
fair. I think, Raymond, to me, if you want to look at like what could he, is Pharaoh Brown, like that type of guy.
Perfect example.
I wish we could have kept him, honestly.
Yeah,
like, there's guys like that are easily available.
Yeah,
Without,
he runs
I think,
really well though.
And I think you could get some depth at other spots that you need. In those. And listen, I'm not telling you like, well, you can't. The 5th round pick, it's so valuable. That's not what I mean. I'm saying you can get offensive linemen,
running backs
in those rounds.
Yep.
You can get a running back in those rounds that might be able to be a bigger need for you.
Yep.
Are there any true free safeties that you guys would like the Patriots to target?
There are 2 free safeties in this draft, which is not normally the case recently because of the way a college game plays nowadays. But, I really like Kalen Bullock from USC, but he's probably going to be a day 2 pick. Like, you're going to have to use a top 100 to get him. There's some other guys, though, that I think could be interesting. Taylor Demerson, I always butcher his name because it's like 10 syllables. He's an interesting guy, too, from Texas Tech. He can play the deep middle. This draft, Cam Kitchens from Miami, this is one of the few drafts in recent years that I can remember where a mid-round pick, like Deron Harmon, 3rd round, 4th round guy, there actually are some center fielders in this draft.
How many defensive picks do you think the Patriots will take? The answer is 2.
Yeah, I was going to say 2.
Yeah.
Your answer was 2?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't think too many anyway, but
Alec writes in. Alec
Baldwin?
No, what's
Guinness?
On Seinfeld was Alec. Remember they had the friend Alec, and he kept saying his name.
No idea.
No. All right, never mind.
I don't remember that one. I feel like I'm out.
What was his last name? He was like Alec Berg, maybe, or something like that.
I don't remember that.
Anyway, big fan of the show. I'm excited. The draft is finally a week away. I want May. I feel like he has the most room to grow. He's young, and his build and ability outweigh any other prospect, in my opinion. If the Patriots do go with McCarthy, do you think they draft him at 3, or do you see them being able to move back and say 6 or 7 and grab him? I'm not opposed to it, but I just don't think you can pass up on May. Also, I think Osborne is an underrated signing, and I see him catching 6 to 7 touchdowns this year. In the wide receiver room, who do you see making the team? Tyquan needs to go.
I would love a world where Tyquan and Juju both go, and Kayshawn. All 3 of them can go, and especially because if you take 2 wide receivers in this draft, they probably are going to walk in and be better than both Tyquan and Juju and Kayshawn Boutte. So I could do without those 3, honestly.
Yeah, I think Bourne, Douglas, and Osborne are the only guys that I look at that have roster spots.
Yeah.
At receiver right now. They probably draft at least 1, throw the others in the hat, and if that one that you draft is at 34 or whatever, then he's a lock to make the team too.
Oh, yeah.
So now you really only talking about maybe 1 or 2 spots for Tamara's group.
Yep. Noah lives in Pennsylvania. He says, I, like all of Patriots Nation, want a wide receiver 1. A.J. Brown changed his profile picture to Brady on Instagram. He wants to be a Patriot so bad. We draft him, Brady stays, and we probably win at least 1 more ring. Love the show, and thank you for everything you do. Excited for the draft and next season. So he needs that wide receiver.
They drafted A.J. Brown
in 19.
I don't think they would have won another title. Certainly wouldn't have meant that Brady had to leave after the 19 season.
Oh, did he say they win a title, or did he say that Brady wouldn't have left?
And they win
He
another
said they
title.
win 1 more, yeah.
Did he? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I think it's definitely fair to say that Brady wouldn't have left right away.
Yeah, I agree.
Gosh, it'd be so exciting if someone like, I don't know what the Bengals would want to trade up for and give T. Higgins, but if we could get T. Higgins and solve a wide receiver 1 problem, that'd
I'd rather
be
have
great.
Ayuk.
Really?
Yeah.
It would be so exciting to me as exciting as that would be, I
Mhm.
feel like it would be more exciting to hit on it in the draft because it's just like finally you took a swing at a wide receiver in the draft high, and he's AJ Brown. You know, like he's Debo, he's Terry McLaurin, like he's one of those guys. The talent there's so much talent every year that comes through at that position in the draft.
Yeah.
And to just be one of these teams that is like a blind squirrel, like trying to look around for it is just so frustrating. Like it's every year there's 10 guys that can play in the draft. Like just go find one.
Yep.
I think they have to go find one and be able to develop one. The development part has been so difficult for whatever reason. We couldn't identify the reason today. For whatever reason it is, they can't develop one. So that's the concern.
Well,
I'm hopeful that with Taekwon Underwood on staff, you know, he's one of those guys that's done a lot of those like private, like coaching type stuff, you know, before he got back into full-time coaching. Scott Peters too, their offensive line coach, another one of those guys. But you know, Underwood's been one of those like footwork king type of people. You know, and Troy Brown, I think is conceptually probably a very good coach, but when it came to like teaching techniques and route running and stuff, you know, you need one of those guys that just like understands, you know, how to teach those types of movements, and I hope that Underwood can do that.
Yep. I heard if you sign up for one of his private clinics, you get a free haircut. That's included.
He still has the same haircut.
Does he really?
Yeah.
The De La Soul fade? He
Yes.
still has it?
Still has it.
Jack in Ann Arbor
so
about
bad.
developing wide receivers. He says one reason the Patriots have not done a good job of developing receivers is that wide receivers are commonly prima donnas, and Belichick had no tolerance for prima donnas. I suspect that Belichick was extra hard on wide receivers who acted like prima donnas. Consequently, the players didn't develop because they didn't get the nurturing they needed.
I think they didn't develop because they couldn't play.
Yeah, I think instead, I think there's some truth to what he's talking about. I think he doesn't love that position because of that. And because of that, he stays away from those kinds of guys. Although, you know, he's not afraid to bring in like Chad Ochocinco, who is as big a diva wide receiver as there ever was
Yeah.
in the league.
I feel like you can say the same thing about corners too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, like look at Sauce.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
But-
so I don't know. I feel, but those guys are really talented. Sauce is really good.
Yeah, but he likes cornerbacks.
He brought in Revis.
He brought in Revis. He brought in Gilmore,
and he brought in.
He likes he likes the cornerbacks.
And he brought in the kid from the Buccaneers midseason.
Keep Talib.
Would-
Keep
Yeah.
Talib.
Would you
Another
ever?
good example, Freddie.
Would you bring in a guy like OBJ in his prime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
But is he
would've,
too
yeah.
much of a diva?
I think they.
No,
I think they
would've.
would have brought. I think like there's some exceptions to the rule for
I
Bill.
just said,
Randy
like-
Moss being one of them. You know, like if you're that good, I think he would have made exceptions to it. I think corner is just simply like he knows his defense isn't complete without a shutdown corner.
And
like,
he
we can't-
likes that position. I think
Yeah.
that and I heard someone talking about this over the weekend. You know, in today's NFL, that wide receiver spot has become like huge.
Yeah.
And I think even 10 years ago, it wasn't that big.
Yeah, it's a premium
changed.
position.
It's changed into a real premium spot, and I don't think Bill thinks that way.
Yeah, quarterback, receiver, tackle, pass rusher are now even more so than corner. I would say like the true premium positions in the league.
But it's weird. I feel like if I was Bill, I'm like, there's no way you could look at this roster and think like something isn't missing. Because like when you look at everyone else's tape, and every week we get into the locker room and we ask the guys, you know, when you're looking at the tape, like who stands out? They're always picking out like Diggs, Justin Jefferson, OBJ when you know he was great. But if you asked the other team about our locker room, who are you saying?
Right.
There's no one to say.
Right. I agree.
So
they're easy
there's
to
something,
defend.
There's something missing.
Yeah.
The star is missing.
Yeah.
Kings and queens of all media and soakers and sniffers of all corks, greeting from Hutch in Maine, longtime listener over 2 decades. There you go. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Just finished watching
quite
The
the intro.
Dynasty, and I have a question.
Oh, God.
What do you think would have happened if RKK had kept TB12 at quarterback instead of Belichick as the head coach at the fateful meeting Robert described with Tommy and Giselle in 18? Would the New England Patriots have won another Super Bowl with Tom? Who would have replaced Bill at that time? Other ripple butterfly effects throughout the universe? So if he had
That'd be
gone with
wild.
Tom and said, Bill, you're done at that time, what would have happened?
I don't know. Who's the coach?
Josh McDaniels? Was he still with him at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. It could have been Mayo.
Mayo
too early, right?
Too early.
Yeah.
It probably would have been McDaniels.
So probably McDaniels.
Or,
so now,
or Patricia.
Tom loves Josh. So, Josh is
who told you Tom loves Josh?
I thought they got along really well together. No.
I don't think that they hate each other or anything like that.
Did everyone hate everyone at the end here?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that was a great relationship.
Oh.
I don't think it was deteriorated like Bill and Tom did. But I'm not sure that would have been
Tom.
The
maybe
case.
it's you. No, I thought that they had a good relationship.
Yeah, I don't think that they have a bad relationship. I just don't think that it's accurate to say, well, Tom loves Josh. I don't necessarily think that's accurate.
Okay. Anyway,
based on
it would make sense.
Some things I've heard.
Josh
over
is
the
the
years.
head coach. Tom stays. Now you have your offensive-minded head coach. Maybe they would win.
I think they could have still gone on to win.
Yeah.
They were not going to win anything else unless they had a dramatic change in their personnel department.
Well, that would be dramatic. Bill's gone.
Okay, well, they haven't had a dramatic change in the personnel department now when Bill's gone.
But Josh would be the head coach, and he would bring in other people.
Okay, maybe.
I'm sure Dave Ziegler probably.
I was just going to say it didn't go very well when that combination was in place in Vegas.
To be fair, I don't think that. I think Dave Ziegler kind of got an unfair shake out of that whole thing in Vegas because he was so connected to Josh. They were kind of a package deal. It really just sounds like Josh lost the locker room. And, the guys just kind of hated playing for him.
Yeah.
Whereas, the talent on the team was, not that bad. When you really look at the roster, especially at the top. I mean, they had Crosby and Adams and, they had some good players. It just...
Now, I was told that there was a big problem in that Ziegler did not want to sign Jimmy. And Josh insisted on that signing. And that, obviously didn't work. In terms of the locker room, it was described to me as the problem being Josh was very tough on the players, in terms of evaluations, but not it was coaching. Not I know this because I'm arrogant and I won all these Super Bowls with New England, but when he would watch film and he'd break down the film and he would point out mistakes by guys and they were very put off by that. So part of it is another example of the new age players with the, kind of an old school coach. Mm-hmm. Josh comes from the Bill tree, where it was Johnny Foxborough, could have made that pass.
Me and Ernie could have made that play.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I do think that Evan's right. There was part of that is on the players with the Raiders, and I don't think it was an overly talented roster. They had high end talent.
Yeah.
That Josh definitely that Evan just mentioned, but the quarterback thing undoes it. It undoes a lot of things.
Rumor has it, and who knows how accurate this is, but rumor has it is that Dave Ziegler wanted to trade up to the number 1 overall pick and take C.J. Stroud. That he had an affinity in the draft for Stroud. The Bears were obviously selling the pick, and he wanted to make the trade up, and Josh wanted Jimmy.
Wow.
That's at least what the Raiders people would tell you.
Jimmy's a coach killer.
The Jimmy part of that, I'm pretty confident that's true.
Okay.
Josh wanted Jimmy. Ziegler did not want Jimmy.
Connor from Narragansett writes in, wanted to see what you guys think would be more likely. 1, trade up from 34, trade down from 34, or trade up from 68.
I'd say trade up from 34.
Yeah, that's kind of my instinct too.
There's going to be a run on tackles, and some of those really, truly day one impact receivers could go at the end of the first round too. The Texas kids, Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey, and I could see them saying, why don't we just jump up 5 spots here and get them before the day 2 starts.
And whatever there's more of, whatever the in the teams, there's going to be a run on one of those spots, and whichever one it is, Patriots should go the other way. Trade up and get the other position.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Let's see. Jeffrey from Canada writes in. He said 7 more sleeps.
Blame Canada.
I have 2 questions. Give me a percentage or odds that the Patriots shock us and do something completely unexpected. For example, Roger Goodell goes up to the podium and says, with the 3rd pick, the New England Patriots select Joe Alt or Harrison or Neighbors? Like, what would shock you?
That wouldn't. None of that would
wouldn't
shock me.
That wouldn't shock
I'm
me.
not expecting it, but none
Neighbors
of that
would shock me.
And
I love Neighbors, but I don't
yeah,
think he's
it
in
would
the
shock
same.
I think his point is you're taking a non-quarterback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would shock me if they stay at 3 and don't take a quarterback.
Yeah, it would. I mean, it would surprise me. I'm not going to be disingenuous. It would surprise. I think they're taking a quarterback at 3, but I would not be shocked if they don't. I would say like a trade up
Like a substantial one.
would shock me at 3. Like that they're trading up and they're going to get Caleb Williams or something. Like
that would be
truly
wild.
shock me.
See,
That'd
that's
be
like
wild.
so off the board for me that like I was more thinking they trade up from 34 to have like two true first round picks, like not like from 34 to
But
31.
you just said that you could see that happening.
Yeah,
That wouldn't
but
be
like I
shocking.
mean from like 34 to like in the teens, or like to get one of these receivers, get
So then you're giving up a pick from next year. then
yeah,
to do
like
that.
giving up like a substantial haul to
Yeah, that
to
would
go
be
all the way
surprising.
up.
My
Yeah.
most shocking thing that could happen on draft night is Harbaugh going after his guy and we getting Justin Herbert.
Wow, that would be shocker.
That'd be
Shocker.
crazy.
Spee in Fresno, Fred, it's Alec Berg. That's what I thought.
Berg.
Could it be that the current
I knew
regime,
someone would write in with that.
Yeah. Could it be that the current regime puts so much of the offensive problems on Bill that they might actually discount the importance of drafting offensive talent?
So someone
we're fine.
Yeah.
Someone tweeted that to me because I put the comment about the NFL. Like
Yep.
we feel like we have NFL players at all those
Yeah.
spots, and someone's like, it's hard to blame Bill for all the shortcomings of the roster, and then not do anything about the roster.
Right.
But I don't think they're not doing anything about the
Yeah.
roster.
Are they of the? I don't think it's necessarily blaming Bill. I think it's more blaming Mac Jones. Like if they truly feel like their quarterback play last year was so abysmal that they're going to draft one of these quarterbacks and it's going to be so much better that all of a sudden Kendrick Bourne and Pop Douglas and Hunter Henry and all these guys just
Would that scare you though?
Well, that's what we thought from
if that's their
Cam to Matt.
mindset.
If that's their mindset?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but
it would scare me too.
But if their mindset is more, we're going to draft Drake May and we're going to draft a big time receiver, and both of those guys are going to come in together and elevate the entire thing, then that I think is justifiable. But just thinking the quarterback's going to do it alone is crazy.
This team is more than a quarterback away from being great.
Yep. Colleen says, I forget where in the press conference, I'd have to rewatch it, but if I recall correctly, at one point when Wolf was referencing the first pick in relation to the next picks, he almost said the quarterback. Maybe I'm being conspiratorial, and this didn't happen, but I feel like it did, and we'll rewatch. I don't recall that, but I had this AC fan blowing in my head.
Yeah, I don't recall that part either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't catch anything like that.
Okay. Claire writes in, hello, everyone. Hello, Marine, even though he's not here. If Evan is there, he is. I know his answer from a Claire Perspective pod. Were you on that?
Yeah, recently.
Oh,
yes.
good. Wow. But he may be able to articulate this question further. Do you all believe that the Patriots would have to draft differently on their other draft picks if they were to take Daniels versus May? So does that who they pick there dictate later drafts?
Yeah. Basically, we talked about the type of receiver that you would ideally like to pair with each quarterback, just in terms of skill set. That was what the question was.
Yeah.
So do you think there would be a dramatic difference, or just like the individual player?
I think there would be a dramatic, probably not, but I do think there would be a difference. Yeah, like I think with
That's probably fair.
A guy like Drake May, you probably want that big outside X with speed that has a catch radius, because he's not going to be pinpoint accurate all the time. So you need somebody that's going to be able to make some catches, acrobatic catches, catches outside his frame every once in a while.
Yeah.
With Jaden Daniels, it's all about speed in the slot. Like you got to get that Malik Neighbors.
What about linemen?
Type of player.
Do you need a different type of line for each guy?
I tend to think no on that one.
Okay.
I'm more think about the receivers, and with Jaden Daniels, he loves to throw those slot fades, like the vertical routes from inside the formation. So if you don't have a guy that can consistently win on that route, that's his route. That's what he threw to Thomas and Neighbors probably 25-30% of the time last year. So getting a guy like that, It doesn't necessarily need to have the largest catch radius in the world. It doesn't need to be 6'3", but he needs to be able to win over the top like that.
James Pettigrew, the most interesting Patriots fan in the world, wants to know, when are we having the "our lads" argument this year? Well, it'll probably come up.
Yeah, I would say probably Friday.
Yeah. Well, probably Tuesday. I'll bring the book, and then somebody will say it's "our lads."
Oh, it is "our lads."
Our?
Yes.
No, it isn't. See, you just asked, and we have it. Lee writes in. He says, "I'm really excited about the draft. We've had the Bill and Tom era, and how fantastic that was. We tried the veteran route with a former MVP to find out he didn't have anything left. We tried a first-round pick, and that didn't work out. We've now got a new chapter to start, and I have everything crossed for us. You've talked about quarterbacks being overdrafted. I understand what was being said, but it's hardly surprising. You can't sit back and wait to see what's left whilst others are overpaying, unless you want to find the shelf bare or only damaged goods left. Not that I care what the Jets do, but is there any history of a bad quarterback like Wilson seems to be, being sat behind a veteran and then coming good in the future? In other words, a guy as bad as Wilson, did anybody ever resurrect themselves and have a good career?
It's a really good question.
Geno Smith.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if he was as bad.
Yeah,
as
I mean,
Wilson.
I think
that's a good.
He's right now is the poster child for flamed out early, came back years later and thrived.
I guess probably not as bad as Wilson, but I was going to say Baker Mayfield in terms of like.
Yeah,
a little bit surprising to see that he's.
Yeah. I mean,
I would say that his best year was in Cleveland still.
But I really thought it was better than last year.
Yeah, I think last year he was so overblown, it was ridiculous.
He's just sticking to a tape.
I thought he was really good last
year.
I'll say this.
Baker baked last.
I'll say this. I thought he was really good.
It's good for the league.
I thought he was for the league. I thought he was really good in the playoffs. Does that count?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought he was really good in the playoff games. I don't think he played like that during the season.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
they were a 500 team, Fred. Okay. Like, it is what it is.
He did well.
They won a terrible division.
They were better with Baker than they were with Brady the year before.
I would say the same.
But their record was better.
They sucked. Yeah, the division was worse.
Okay.
Baker baked.
But that's why Fred actually agreed with this. Another attaboy I got. I want no part of Brady, like this whole coming back thing.
So I heard you on with Beetle and Matt McCarthy, who's a
You would have thought that I
fellow
committed
bomber,
a felony.
Fellow bomber, by the way, Matt McCarthy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we all went to Ithaca together. But when they jumped down your throat about that, I was Team Paul. I was like, this is crazy.
They don't understand. They want to be snarky, which far be it from me to criticize someone for being snarky, but they don't understand the point. They're like, oh, why would we want to win games? I'm like, it's not necessarily about the record. Is your team getting any closer to where you want it to be?
They'd be 2019 at best.
And I just said to him, in 21, you had a football season.
Yeah.
You won 10 games, which is your holy grail, evidently. All of a sudden, 10 wins, so we can get to the wild card game. How did that work for the overall development of the team?
Yeah.
It didn't help you.
Yeah.
To sign 17 high-priced free agents and win some games. Oh, it's not better to win games than lose them? Oh, because we got to be all snarky about it and not understand. No, it was not in the best interest of the team. It didn't help.
You weren't building.
And the same kind of thing would happen if you signed Brady. I have no doubt that you would win more games right now, Brady off his couch.
Yeah, and
than they would otherwise.
It'd be good for ratings that season and all
well,
that.
I think that you said it, Paul, directly to them, and I know that they tried to dance around it, but the reason why they want Brady to come back is for their show.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
I busted Felger's chops on that big time.
It would be incredible for us if Brady came back.
Of course.
No one's denying that. He comes back for week 1 last year, and it was incredible for us.
Absolutely.
The COVID year, by the way, Baker Mayfield, 26-8. That was his best year. Better than last year.
With no fans in the stands, please.
What does that have to do with anything? He still had to play.
Good quarterback.
You sound like Greg Bedard, dismissing Josh Allen because he only did it with COVID.
It's good for the league.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Dumbest thing I heard then, and you just re-upped it.
I appreciate Greg's dedication to the Josh Allen take because he was not a Josh Allen guy to begin with, and even though
wasn't a Gronk guy either.
Even though Josh, Even though Josh Allen's now like an MVP caliber
receipts.
quarterback,
He keeps receipts.
yeah.
Because there's a way to be like right and wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Like, can you just say like, oh, you know what? I don't
Paul's
think.
wrong the right way.
No. But like, can you just say I don't think Rob Gronkowski? I don't really understand all the hype about it. Don't see the hype. At period, all period. Like,
Right.
So I'm sorry when that guy turns out to be the greatest tight end who's ever played.
Right.
You deserve to have it thrown back in your face.
Period. Were period. Wrong. Period.
And he gets really mad if you point that out to him.
Right. Oh God, the thin skin. Oh, you can
Believe
see,
me, he's been mad at me before. I'm sure he's probably mad at me right now because he's listening.
Well, I've had some people that are telling me preemptively that when Drake May is a bust, that I'm never going to hear the end of it because I've been so pro Drake May this entire time, and I'm just like, if Drake May is a bust, I'll own it that I was wrong. Like, I don't understand what the big deal is. Like,
Right.
so you get some, you win some, you lose some. Like, I think he's going to be a good player. You don't. There you go.
So this time 3 years ago, Evan, where were you on Mac Jones?
So we were talking about this the other day. I flip-flopped on Mac Jones after the Patriots drafted him. I took the cheese, and I took the cheese with him. But going into the draft, I had him as the 5th quarterback in the draft. So I want to say I had it Lawrence, Fields, Lance, Wilson, Mac is how I had it that year. And I really liked Justin Fields. And I was also pretty wrong about that.
I liked Justin Fields too, and I was wrong about it. But
Yeah.
I similarly had Mac number 5 out of those 5.
Yeah, I really liked Justin Fields. That was the guy that I wanted the Patriots to end up with in that draft. And I wasn't as big on Mac, and then they drafted him, and then I was like, okay, well, maybe it'll work out.
I was pleased that he was our quarterback at the time.
Yeah.
I believe you used that very line that
I'm very
night,
pleased that Mac Jones is our quarterback.
and I wanted to throw up.
he can play quarterback.
But
in
the
this
only
league.
guy I really,
Evan?
the only guy I loved in that draft was Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, yeah.
And I got killed by fans after we drafted
Oh,
Mac
yeah.
early.
Yeah.
You're right, Fred.
Oh, would you take Trevor Lawrence now?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then when Fred said yes, they killed him even worse.
Even after that first season when Mac
Yeah.
had a better rookie season,
Right.
I still would have taken
Yes.
Trevor
and he was
Lawrence.
bad
Yes.
his rookie season, but you
Yeah.
could just
You just knew.
The
Yes.
funniest
Watch.
thing, the
Yeah.
funniest thing about Mac's rookie season, I still remember this to this day, is people writing that it was one of the greatest rookie seasons in the history of the NFL.
Stop.
Because like his completion percentage
Right.
was like really, really high or something like that.
He didn't throw into the end zone until like week 4.
Yeah, I was like, did we watch? Like he did his job that year.
Right.
There's
It
no
was
doubt
like,
about that.
That's like the McCarthy stuff. Like they never won a single one of those 10 games because of Mac Jones.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
No, the games that he played the best in were probably the games that they lost that year. Like
Tampa.
Tampa. Like I know he threw the pick 6 against Dallas, but I think that
But
Dallas.
I think the response. I mean, even though I thought that was a fluky, but whatever. Yeah,
I
Dallas.
thought he played
it's
well
like,
against
it's like
Dallas
you ever
would be-
see those parents that they're in the mall with their kid and they have a leash on the kid? And the kid's so well behaved. He's got a leash on. It's like Mac. Oh, he had such a great. They managed the hell out of him.
What an analogy. His best.
They
game
had the
as-
governor
so
on,
good.
Fred.
Right.
His
It's
best
so
game
good.
as a Patriot was probably Buffalo last year.
Oh, yeah.
But his best game his rookie year was against Cleveland. They tore Cleveland
Oh,
apart.
yes.
No doubt.
Yeah,
He was
that was
unreal.
Baker had like
Everybody
half,
had career
he
games
had,
in
like-
that one.
Yeah.
Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah.
No,
Baker
no,
played
no,
with
that was
like a-
next year. That was the next game.
Oh,
That was a
next game.
Bailey.
Oh, okay.
That was a
Yeah.
Bailey
Okay.
Zappi game.
Bailey
Yeah.
Zappi.
Baker was
right.
playing with like half a shoulder in that game.
No,
Right.
I mean, yeah.
You're
they-
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
the
he
deep-
was great in that game.
Oh, the throw he made to Kendrick Bourne up the seam to that game was the best throw he ever made.
So I know the exact play you're talking about. There was also one to Hunter Henry in that game. That wasn't a touchdown, but it was a great throw. And I remember the post-game show. I was like, we started the good and bad. I was like, Mac Jones, this is the guy that you guys have been telling me has been playing all year. This is why I don't gush about it, because this was different.
Yeah.
Now you see what elite play is as opposed to run-of-the-mill play. There's a difference. I was like so like over the top. He was Evan's right. He was great that day.
He
And then he never did
there
it
was
again.
there was a timeline that he could have been a good quarterback here.
Yeah.
We just do not live in that universe. But there was a way. There
In the
was
metaverse.
a path.
Yeah. All right. That's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered.
His
we'll be-
attitude would have undone all the good.
We got a lot going on. Next Tuesday marks draft week, so we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original.